it's a level of valuable, man, that I can't really put in words. It's one of those things where you just gotta live it. You gotta live it and allow yourself to be able to experience it. And I say that because it's like anything that you want for yourself, when you want that for yourself and you want it because it also allows you to be able to contribute that to somebody else, it gives it a whole nother level of meaning. Because we think we're great. We think we can be great by ourselves. And it's not to say that we can't.
Let's impact some men today. I think we're going to do a great job.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Modern Man Podcast, where we connect men in pursuit of their potential. Join us as we embrace discomfort, cultivate community, and put wind in each other's sails. And if you're ready to take your personal and professional growth to the next level, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to check out the Noble Knights Mastermind Group, where you'll find the support, accountability, and mentorship you need to achieve your goals. Join us and become a part of a community of like-minded men on a mission to improve themselves and elevate their capacity for life. I'm excited to have the conversation today with voice for intentional husbands, fathers, and marriages, one half of the One Dope Couple. It is my pleasure to have John Trone on the podcast. John, thanks for taking the time, brother.
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, blessed and highly favored. I had a good workout beforehand. I'm still drinking my protein shake or whatnot. I saw you had, what was
That's
it,
what I like.
405 on the bar the other day?
Oh no, man! Listen, that's lightweight, man. That was 485.
485. You got them tree trucks for legs there.
Man, listen, that was a big goal, man, because I had failed at that before, so I was glad to hit it. I'm gonna hit that 405. No, the 500, man, maybe next week or week after next. And after that, man, we cutting down. So
I like it. I like it, man. Slowly building up, and failure to your success is also the road to go. Listen, man, I want to step out of the way and give you an opportunity to talk directly to the audience. I like giving the guests in the audience an opportunity to get acquainted without me stepping in between. So please take the podcast, take the microphone, talk to the people, let them know who you are and what you do, brother.
yeah, man. So I am, man, a proud husband, father, Army veteran, and content creator. Multiple business owner, man, but right now my huge focus is just sharing value, man, and advocating for marriages and uplifting the voice of that, because I want to be able to show people, man, and share with people the value of meaningful marriage and unity, because we've gotten into a time now to where people are so divided, and I don't want that message, man, to continue to carry on the way that it has. So my wife and I have learned a lot in our path and in our journey of marriage of over a decade. And we want to make that message, man, loud among people, especially knowing that we have, daughters, man, and kids out here who should aspire to have that unity and that harmony in their lives one day. So right now, man, that is my whole focus. That is who I am. I'm a husband, a father, a man of God, man, to the best of my abilities, striving to be better every single day and promoting the message, man, of positivity and unity, brother. That's who I am.
I love it, man. And thank you for your service, and thank you for who you are and how you show up and the conversations that you and your wife so openly have, and continue to share that content and that message with the world, because I feel like it is very much needed in terms of the conversations that are getting highlighted in today's day and age. We don't have that message of unity, love, and commitment. And even further, I'm just over the 2-year hump, and I'm looking forward to when we get to the 10-year hump, and even more. But when I first was getting married and I asked for advice, it's shocking to hear. And I get some people have their own experience, but some people are like, man, don't do it. This, that, the other thing. Your life is over. Or even some telling me, man, the first 5 years are going to be the hardest. Um,
Right.
I resonate with your message because my wife and I have such a great relationship, and I acknowledge that that's our current season, and I'm looking forward to extending that season as much as possible. But going to your wife's Instagram, I love how she says, married to a king. And here's my question, John. Who were you before the king that you are now?
Man, I know I've said this very directly, man, on my page, but and on our show, dog. I'm a hood dude, brother. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I'm straight out the projects. Like I am a large part of who I was before my wife, man. Is straight out of the statistics, man. Single parent household, doing a whole lot of bad stuff, man. Before I got married, and the army, man, was my saving grace, dog. It was my saving grace because I didn't know what my life was going to be, and college wasn't in the books, man. It wasn't even really a thought because I had failed the ACT so bad. And fortunately enough for me, man, I met my wife very early in my army career. So we were both 18 years old. Um, like I said, I had already gotten to a bad crowd of people, man, and I had really kind of just went through a huge downfall, like a spiral down of just I don't really know how else to say it, man. Just trying to be cool, man. I was out here, finally out of my parent, out of my mom's household, man, just trying to do any and everything, man. Like I had never seen the world before. Like I had never been in environments where there were different cultures and backgrounds and stuff like that. So I was in all of it, man. I was in all of it, and man, went through some tough experiences early on in the military that brought me to a stop, real intense stop, man, where I had to look at my life and really just start to evaluate, man, who I am in that moment. And I decided, man, that I didn't want to keep going down that path. I met her, and she, man, I don't even know how to say it, man. She lit something up in me, man, that just made me want to be better. And not even because I wanted to pursue her as, a girlfriend or anything like that. It's just that it was almost, man, like instantly the way I realized that she wouldn't tolerate certain things in me. And those were things that I was very willing to give up because I knew I needed to change, but I didn't know how. And I
Mm,
knew the first changes that I needed to make were in my character. And she made me want to have better character. And that was one of the biggest, most pivotal things in me, man, because I knew I had to carry myself different. And lo and behold, man, I ended up, continuing to build a relationship and cultivate that with her. 2.5 years later, man, we married.
that's awesome, man. I love that. I love that. And I asked that question intentionally because I've said it on the podcast before, and you don't know. I met my wife 4.5 years before we started dating, and the dude she met, we were never we went to the same college, but never at the same time. We met one night at a random at a fraternity party. It was a mixer or something, and that was the one night that we met, and we didn't see each other again for another 4.5 years. The dude she met that night,
Wow.
she was not into. The the the
Mm-hmm.
the boy she met that night was not capable of getting a woman like that. But I do remember the moment she walked in the room, the famous line. I tapped my buddy, "Who's that?" "Oh, that's Jess." And I said, "She's a problem." It's the first thing I said when I saw my wife was, "She's a problem." But like I said on the wedding day, I found out, in my vows, I said, "Well, no, baby, you're my solution." And what I realized was the person I became over those next 4.5 years, through the inspiration of recognizing what I wanted in life, became the person that she ended up being attracted to. So, what was it
That's heavy, brother.
that you had to let go of, man?
Man, even before I answer that, I want to say something, man. Had I have met my wife a month earlier, I'd have been in the same boat. There's no way we would have worked out. Had
Mhm.
I have met her, no, I won't even say a month, maybe 2 months earlier, who I was at that time, man, it would not have worked out. But to answer your question, man, who I was and what I had to let go, I had to let go, man, of feeling like I needed to fit in environments that I knew I wasn't meant to be in. And so I had gotten into this space, man, where I was trying to be honestly, man, I was just trying to be cool. Like I was trying to fit in. I was 18, man. Like a lot of people, they kind of downplay, my age because we met so young and stuff like that. But I'm fortunate enough to realize that age really doesn't determine anything because being in the military, I was exposed to a lot of people, man, who were way older than me, and they were some of the same people who I was kicking it with, 30, 35 years old, 40, and I didn't like their lives. And I was sitting over here hanging with a lot of these guys, man, and I didn't want to be like any of that. And I realized that I had to change my character. So I had to let go, man, some of my ratchet ways, the partying and clubbing and all of that stuff, it came later, let go of that stuff. But I had to let go, man, of just being loose, man, with my standards and how I carried myself and the things that I allowed myself to be involved in. Even the way that I spoke, bro, because I had a real reckless mouth, man. And she wouldn't let none of that stuff fly. Like, I would never speak negatively towards her, but even the way I interact with other people that I was around, man, it wasn't appealing to her. And I actually cared about what she thought, man. And when I thought about it, it was like, if I let this stuff go, would I feel like a lesser version of myself? And the answer was no. If I let this stuff go, is there anything that I put such a value on where I feel like I need to have it in order to maintain my identity? And the answer was no to that stuff. And when I realized that letting some of those bad character traits go wouldn't take away anything from me, I gladly did it.
Mm-hmm.
I gladly did it, man. And ultimately it worked out for the best because I didn't have any real role models at the time. And I didn't have anybody that I aspired to be like or any of that. And I was in the military, man, but I didn't have that ideal leadership. But I had this woman, man, who had a strong family, man, who she was connected to. And she just moved different, man. And it just made me want to be better so that way I could keep her in my life.
Yeah.
And I knew the way that I was acting before her, it wasn't going to fly, man. Now, fortunately, I had a lot of these real, like, kind of revelations, so to say, before I met her. But I had it in thought, but not in action. And so even though I had been thinking about those things, I had really started getting back into my spiritual walk and stuff like that. She was a person that allowed me to be able to start doing some of those things and taking them from thought to action.
Mm.
So me thinking about being better was one thing, but getting back out into the world and having to be around other people and letting them know that I couldn't do certain things or that I wouldn't do certain things and carry myself a certain way. She was that person that came into my life that made me walk out what I had been thinking about in thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having
Yeah.
this reflection in real time. And I'm kind of paralleling your story. And it's crazy you said had it been a month or so different, because I try and think of what was different about me between the boy that met Jess to the man that she ended up falling in love with and marrying. And I wasn't where I am now when Jess and I linked up and started dating. But what I
Mm-hmm.
did have that I didn't have beforehand was direction. And what I mean by direction, it almost sounds that like when you started realizing you had to let certain things go, or you started getting this mindset, you're looking for a direction other than where you are. And I think a lot of guys catch themselves drifting, man. We fall into the same trap. Man, I talk about, I used to kill the dance floors back in the day. I was the life of the party. I was the
Same.
man.
Same.
Like even like when my wife and I first started dating, she'd see a circle, she looked me, go get him, baby. That was what I did.
Same, brother. Same exact thing.
But
Couldn't get me off the dance floor, man. That was it.
sweat rag and everything. I'm in it.
All of that.
But when I decided that that wasn't as important as what I wanted in life, as some of the things that I was leading into, things I decided that I wanted. Ted, okay, what do you want? You want a family, right? You want to protect, you want to provide, you want to build something. And what I would say, back to your wife's profile, married to a king, when I decided that I wanted a queen in my life, I realized wholeheartedly I didn't have a kingdom. So I wanted to start working towards that. And even though I wasn't there yet, my wife saw the direction. She saw something I was headed towards. What would you say to young men who are dating these days? And I know dating looks completely different back when I was in it, when you were in it,
Yeah.
but I do think some of the foundations and the values could still remain the same. So what would you advise to young men who are out there looking for their queen and their potential partner?
And again, just like you said, like the landscape is completely different. But if I had to give any sound advice, man, I would say get more clarity on who you are as a person, as a man, in a direction that you ultimately want your life to go in, and start looking 20 years down the road.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is because the more clear you can get on your future, the more you can get in alignment with finding the right person that's going to be able to help you get there. And what you'll end up realizing is that the person you need to help you get there is probably going to bring out some things in you that you may not in the moment be ready to deal with. But if you know where you're going, when they come and they try to help you make those shifts and those adjustments, you won't have such resistance, because you know that they're trying to help you get to that level, to that point in life that you know you ultimately want to be with. That you want to be at. So you won't have that same level of resistance and friction and all of that stuff, knowing that this is somebody that believes in that future with you. And having somebody, man, who you can be in alignment with, like, the more clarity you can have on yourself. And I mean, your values, as far as like what you think about family, like whatever it is that you believe in spiritually, whatever it is that you want to have be, professionally, and then not aspiring just for the values you think you have right now, because sometimes the values we think we have and the ones we actually have are not the same. And so for me, for example, my wife had values that I wanted to have. I didn't actually have them. And I knew that I was missing some of those things. So a lot of our friction came from me wanting to be better, but not actually knowing how to walk out the values I wanted to have. And so I was looking for somebody who could help me become the man that I ultimately wanted to be. And we went through a lot of friction, man, at some points, because I didn't know how to make those character changes in real time. But I knew that doing it would make me a whole lot better in walking out the values that I wanted to have. But I had a little bit more clarity on who Trone ultimately wanted to be. And so I allowed that transformation to happen. I allowed her to be able to help me, and that ultimately paid off. And I think a lot of people, man, they're so short-sighted when they look at partners, and they're only thinking about, be it the physical, they're thinking about, oh, this person makes me feel good and all of that other stuff or whatever. But finding somebody, man, who makes you want to level up your life, live a certain way, carry yourself a certain way, somebody who makes you want to have a higher level of character and standards, somebody who makes you want to be bigger, man, from the inside out, is different. It's completely different when you meet somebody who makes you want to carry yourself a different way. And the thing about this, man, and me and my wife kind of just had this realization literally like maybe a week ago. This sounds good in theory and thought, right? But when you're actually doing that, what you'll come to find out is that the person you're with actually ends up having to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Because the more intentional you become about yourself, the more aware you become of other people and their level of intention around you. So they have to grow, which means that the person you're with also has to grow. So that way they can accommodate the growth in you. And you end up over time becoming two parts of becoming one of the same two different parts. And it's amazing, man, because it's one of those things you can only really understand in hindsight. Because even coming out of my mouth, man, it sounds maybe twisted. It sounds a little bit, up in the clouds. But you end up growing together because you realize that there's so much more of you to become, and you allow yourself to do all of that with that person. Mm. And I would say, man, leaning into those values and finding somebody who encourages you to make those shifts and those adjustments from the inside out.
If iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. But if you're a man and you're alone or listening to this, then who sharpens you? What's going on, guys? Ted Phaeton here, host of the Modern Man Podcast, also founder of the Noble Knights Mastermind Group. And I'm just out here encouraging you to find your circle. Maybe you're on a personal growth journey and nobody around you understands the new mentality that you're possessing. That's okay. You can find an online community that will pour into you, will navigate your goals and navigate your obstacles, share their experiences, resources, and more. Join the Noble Knights Mastermind Group and try us out for free to tap into a community of men helping each other scale up and reach their goals.
Check out themodernmanpodcast.com.
Yeah, it's amazing too because
it's invaluable.
I feel like a lot of men shy away from it at first because they go right to the, oh, she checking me, right? Like, oh, she's trying to tell me what to do, this, the other thing. What I had to find was any man who's listening who has ambition or a vision in life, when you find the right woman, she'll hold you to it. And it wasn't that she was checking me.
Listen, bro, that's heavy.
She wasn't checking me. She was like, I thought we were, because I would compromise on my own boundaries. I would compromise on my own values sometimes. And my wife was quick to let me know. I was like, hold on. I thought we was trying. You're right. Were you talking about, oh, we got to save some money this quarter and then Friday comes, let's eat out. No, I thought we were eating the leftovers in the fridge. So a lot of times.
The right woman will hold you accountable, man. They'll hold you accountable to the vision that you sell her.
Mm-hmm.
But don't sell a vision you don't want to be held accountable to.
Amen, man. This actually goes perfect into the next question that I wrote down because I saw you guys posted this not too long ago, and I was laughing because you said, you're like, man, we got fat and nobody told us. and literally, my question was talking about growth in marriage and how important it is to root for each other and grow and go through this journey with each other. Because as we mentioned, that accountability partner, that vision that you sell to them, but it's also for me looking in the mirror, knowing what I'm capable of and thinking to myself, I don't want to give my wife anything other than the best version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And she, I would imagine, I can't speak for her, but from her telling me, she wants to do the same. She wants to give me the best version of her. So a lot of times that requires growth together. How's that journey been? And I use that post as kind of like, it was the comic relief where you're like, we don't have any friends. Nobody told us. Nobody shouted out, like, hey, y'all get a little.
Yeah.
So what was that realization for you guys when you had to call yourselves out on it? And how did that trajectory change?
Well, one man, historically, we've always been pretty sick. But in all honesty, man, we've been together over a decade, man. Like, we've had some ups and downs. And if I'm being completely honest, man, even if somebody had told us at what we was dealing with during that time period, it still probably wouldn't have helped. Because the thing about it, man, when you grow so close to somebody, there's times when you're trying to hold on and you're trying to grow, man, and make it through, life's ups and downs, to where if you both fall in one area, you fall together. If you both rise in one area, you rise together. And, man, and we had a few years, man, where we went in survival mode, like just trying to hang on, like keeping our family together and our sanity, man. And so that's one of those things, man, that a lot of people don't talk about. But when it comes to our growth, bro, like the interesting thing about us is we've always included each other in our growth. So intentionally, to the point where, like, if I learn something new or if something really gets my interest and I really want to start working on it, the first thing I'm doing is taking it to my wife. And I want to tell her why I'm doing whatever this is, why it's important to me. And she, at that point, will oftentimes, man, she will look at or think about, like, what is it that we're actually ultimately aiming for in our vision and our goals that we talk about. And if it's in alignment with that, then she's on board with me. She's about to start reading whatever I'm reading. She's working in the same area, the same way that I am, or something along those lines. But if it's something that's going to ultimately get us in the direction that we want to grow in together, the first thing we always do, man, is bring it to each other and figure out how can we support each other through whatever this is or get involved together. And we've never we've not only recently have we actually started talking about that, but we've always done that. We've done that for over a decade. So we never embark on doing something growth oriented without including each other and talking about it, discussing it, getting each other involved, man, and showing up to be able to support and help, help each other through it. So, man, it's really for us, it just comes back to communication, man, and being interested. Because if I'm hype and I'm energetic about something, man, and I'm about to go after, naturally she's the first person that's going to, see it and experience it and see the change and the difference in me. And she going to want to be a part of it the same way I am with her. And, man, and that's really been it.
Mm.
That's really been it, man.
I read an article, and forgive me if I'm messing it up. It talked about apparently a psychologist was able to forecast the strength of a marriage based on the phrase "Oh, look, a bird," or something like that. I don't know if you saw this article,
Never heard of that.
pretty much it said that the interest that the partner takes into the person, like saying, "Oh, look, a bird." Some partners be like, "Oh, yeah, whatever," not really pay any mind. But those that be like, where's the bird? Or show me. That showed interest, had a higher percentage of success in their marriage because they showed interest in their partner. It's not just, "Oh, look, a bird." It's, what do you see? What is the perspective of your life? And what am I missing? So because I'm interested in what you see and how you approach the world, we're going to have that better communication and understanding as the years go on. It was something that simple. So I hope the message comes across, even if I butchered the source.
Even the way you said it, man, the way it really came across to me is like, I care enough to bring this to your attention. Do you care enough to look?
Oh,
that's the way I received it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And interest is a huge thing that me and my wife talk about all the time. And it's so downplayed, man, because most people don't understand what it means to be genuinely interested in a person. And I say that, man, coming from two people who had nothing in common when we met. We had nothing in common, man. But the dope thing about that, it made us hyper interested in each other because we came from two totally different worlds. You know what I mean? And so everything that she had to say, it just, I don't know, man, it captivated me. Even if it wasn't anything like deep or serious or anything like that, I just cared. And the same thing with me. Like I told you, man, I came from a rough background. Exposed, I had PTSD long before the military. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like she had never been exposed to anything like that. So she would listen to my stories, man, for hours, and I would listen to hers. But it's, oh look, a bird. You got my attention. And I care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I care enough to look.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I caught it, man.
Hey man, that's awesome. That's exactly how I meant to throw it. So I'm glad you got that way. You mentioned the values, brother, and I'm off my notes now. I'm vibing with you. Something.
Oh, we going.
Something I noticed very early on of what I used to be uncomfortable by, and I had to unpack it, was the love her father had for her, my wife's father. And my wife has a great family foundation. And I'm thankful that I've been lucky enough still have my mom and my dad in my life, and they're still together. But the family ethos that my wife was surrounded by was so strong, and the amount of love that her father shows her, I was intimidated by it at first, if I'm being honest. And then I realized through my personal growth and reflection was the amazing values and life and loving environment my wife was surrounded by growing up that I might have been jealous of is now an environment I get to provide for my kids. And it was something that is so easy for someone who hadn't had that childhood growing up, someone who hasn't had that amount of love in their life, to so easily repel and look at as the enemy, instead of me identifying that this is the exact thing that I yearned for as a little kid. Not that I was lacking love. Both my parents were immigrants. They were working overtime just to afford to put us into school. And pretty much it's just me and my sister at home raising ourselves. I don't feel any animosity for it. My parents did the best that they could with what they had. But now seeing that in somebody else, instead of being resentment and having resentment, I had embracement, because now I can make that a part of my life, into what my kids get to experience, that love, that community,
Right.
that support. What were some of the values? You mentioned the values that you didn't have at the time. And I'd love for some of the guys to focus on their values through hearing your answer, that you saw that you wanted to acquire into your life.
And what's crazy about that is that was literally one of the first and biggest values, man, that I noticed in my wife too, that she had a strong family connection. And the interesting thing about that is that was one of those values that I wanted to have,
Mm,
because I didn't have that growing up. I told you, man, I grew up like the youngest of six. And bro, like my life was tough, man. It was tough because I didn't have a whole lot of real positive male role models in my life, and people to teach me lessons and stuff like that. So the values that I had and that I wanted to have, I kind of made them up.
mm,
And so the fact that I saw the family values in her the way that they were, I wanted to have that. And I saw how important it was to her. And because I was interested in it, it kept my attention. And it told me that this is something that I also want to have for myself. Another part of that, man, was growth, because I had already fallen off so hard before her. And she was somebody that made me want to grow individually. And so growth was that other one, which ended up becoming one of my strongest and highest core values. And I didn't realize until later on in life that growth has always been my highest core value. And when I say growth, it's not just I want to be, a better person or make more money or anything like that. It's I want to be proud of the person who I am with intention, and I want to constantly and consistently get better in every area of my life. That's in my character. That's me professionally. That's me as a man and how I see myself. That's also how I treat people.
mm,
That's also how I show up for the people that I say I love. So when I say growth, it's like growth from the inside out, and how I show up in the world and being somebody that I can be proud of, and that my family can be proud of, and that the people I love and I care about and that I serve can be proud of from the inside out, and not just in my possessions,
mm.
not just in what I can do for them, but also in how I treat them and how they can feel the love that comes from me to them. Because those things, man, in my opinion, are so important, and that so many people end up losing sight of, because I've had so many opportunities and so many different instances in my life where I've either had a lot of, monetary success and different things like that, but I didn't like me.
Mhm.
I didn't like me because of the things that I acquired. And it took a lot of winning and losing and different things like that, man, to realize that I care about having me more than anything. And my wife has always kept that understanding top of mind for me. So, man, growth, family, and just always being in pursuit of being a better person from the inside out are the values, man, that I hold at a high level. And of course, inside of that, man, is good character, like respect, integrity. And I'm highly impressed, man, by people that have high standards and that keep their words, man, not only just to other people, but to themselves. And they
Mm,
honor that. And that's something, man, that I practice in myself. I definitely won't say that I'm perfect, but I respect it and I value it so much because it's something that I'm working to be better at. And so I value and I admire the values that I want to have deeper in myself, because that keeps me growing. That keeps me pursuing something, not just the ones that I say that I have and the
mm.
ones that I think I have, but the ones I'm trying to constantly ingrain in myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know I got a lot of trauma. I got a lot of stuff that I've come from. I got a lot of things that I've resolved, but I'm always working, man, to walk out the things that I know are important to me and that'll make me better for the people that I want to love on and that I want to serve and that I want to be a part of my life.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
And
It's
I hope that
amazing.
answered your question, man. That went around the way a little bit, but
I'm with you
I
though.
hope
I'm
that
with
answers
you.
the question.
Well, a lot of the values you mentioned with, the family, the growth, and it's things that I think as we get older, we look to who has something that we want and what do they all have in common, right? And as I got older,
Mhm.
I started to learn from not necessarily looking at certain people with hate, but with curiosity. And it started at the gym. I started working out after college was when I really started my fitness journey. I used to go to LA Fitness after work. I was in a dark place, honestly, and I was too depressed. Hindsight, I know this. I didn't know it at the time. I was too depressed to go straight home. So honestly, the gym actually came through. It was the only thing that kind of kept me going through a
Yeah.
dark stage of my life. For 3 years, I go to LA Fitness, and there was this one guy. I actually never got his name, and man, he was squat ass to grass. I was so impressed, man. He had 3 plates, and I would just go to him. I'm like, "Hey, man,
Getting it.
yeah," and I'm like, "Man, how do you do this?" And he would show me, and I think that's the first time in my life that I actually got mentorship in something, right? Where just the dudes at the gym from noticing me after a while, they'd be like, "Hey, man, do this," and I literally learned how to work out just by being at the gym at the same time every day, 4 days a week, and the guys
Yeah.
there saw I was skinny. I didn't know what I was doing, but they would give me tips, tricks, and over time, I was able to actually pick some weight up. But when I
Like
first
indirect mentorship.
exactly, and that was when I first realized, like, okay, instead of hating the dude squatting, ask him how he does it, and he'll give you the game.
Mhm.
The game is free, but the work you have to put in yourself, in order to get
Absolutely.
that next level. Coming up on last few questions, man. What I love about the content you put out, and like we said at the beginning of the episode, is just that positive message. And there are some people who are like, man, marriage, you're ball and chain and all that. But I've been having a great time, and I honestly, family is one of my values. My home is my area of peace. I'm very ambitious, and I have a lot of things that pull at my attention. But when me and my wife have time together, it is blissful. It's great. Um, so I thoroughly enjoy being married, and it's been helping me become a better man. What would you say are
That's
some of the
good on this side.
Thank you, man. Thank you. What would you say are some of the best things about marriage? So anyone listening, any of the fellas listening who might come from similar backgrounds at us, who might look like us, could have a little bit of that inspiration and just maybe a little message of hope, brother.
Uh, this might sound. I'm gonna try to bring it out the clouds, man. But I would say, man, that marriage is probably one of the most fulfilling things a person can experience. Now, to put context behind that, I say fulfilling because I also don't want to paint the picture that that means that it'll be easy. And when I say easy, I don't necessarily mean that being with another person will be hard. What I mean is marriage forces you to become a better version of yourself. It forces you to be held accountable and held to a certain standard. It keeps you out of the way of getting in your own way because you have somebody there whose livelihood is also connected to yours. You
Mhm.
have somebody there in your life who cares about you at the same level or at the same level as you care about yourself. And you can't get that nowhere else. Your parents are going to be in your life for a limited amount of time. At some point in time, even if you got kids, they're going to grow up and they're going to start living their own life. But having a spouse, man, having somebody that loves you and that wants to be there for you, literally to the casket drop, you know what I mean? Like, it's a level of valuable, man, that I can't really put in words. It's one of those things where you just got to live it.
Yeah.
You got to live it and allow yourself to be able to experience it. And I say that because it's like anything that you want for yourself, when you want that for yourself and you want it because it also allows you to be able to contribute that to somebody else, it gives it a whole nother level of meaning. Because we think we're great. We think we can be great by ourselves. And it's not to say that we can't. But when you can magnify that with love and genuine, like caring for somebody else and doing it for something bigger than yourself, and knowing that you're connected to somebody who's also rooting for you, regardless of what the world may say to you or towards you, you can't put a dollar figure on that. But it's allowing yourself to go through that grooming process, man, of giving yourself to somebody wholeheartedly and being everything that you could be for yourself and for the person that you love. It don't get no better than this, man. Like marriage is a gift. And whatever you think you can do by yourself, you could do 10 times more with somebody in your life, man, who's going to be right there on the journey with you.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you can do by yourself, man, is magnified when you got somebody else in your life, man, to be able to enjoy it and experience it with. Period. But again, the greatest things in life, man, don't come easy. You got to work for it. And there's no reason why anybody should be afraid of the work. Nobody should be afraid of this work, man, because Lord knows we'll do it in everything else. We'll go to the gym. We'll put ourselves through all type of stress. We'll go through businesses where majority of businesses fail, but yet we still want to go out there and do it. We'll go to college when we know most people don't even use their degrees, and the ones that do use their degrees often don't make nearly as much as the top 1% in that field. The odds are stacked against us in everything. So rather than consuming the statistics of people that fail, look at the 1%, see what they're doing, and ask yourself, what do I got to do to be a part of that top percentage of people that actually win at that thing and do it well and love it?
Mm. Man, I want to get you a mic so you can go ahead and drop it. You're so right, because you think of some people who talk about the proudest moments in their lives, the people who might have won an Oscar or who might have finished an ultra marathon and have done these highly fulfilling things. They all have something in common: the difficultness in which they are to obtain. And you mentioned the fulfillment of marriage, and it's not so much that it's difficult to obtain, it's difficult to maintain. And
Maintain it.
that's what I've been looking at as the modern day flex. When I was young, I used to think it was the dude with the beautiful women, the fast cars, and the penthouse suite. I was like, oh, bro, that's a flex. Now I'm looking at the father who is married, and kids still come back to visit him even though they're out the house type thing. It's like, that's the dude who I'm like, yo, that's a flex, because that is not easy. I see that. Before the call, we were chatting a little bit, and you were mentioning that you're focused really quick on who you're going to become, right? That's kind of a top of mind. So I know it might be an unfinished thought, but for what you got so far, who is John Trone becoming in this current season?
Man, unrecognizable is the word. Unrecognizable. I don't want to be like anything I have been before. So for me, that's being extremely consistent. That's honoring my word in everything that I do and everything that I say, because I know that that's going to transform me. Because keeping your word to yourself, man, is how you build confidence, confide in self, being able to trust who you are and what you say. And it seems like one of those things, man, that we should always do. But if we're honest with ourselves, man, most of us don't keep our word to ourselves, regardless of how big or how small. Regardless of how big or how small. And I want to be so much more intentional about the words that I use in honoring my commitments. Consistent, and really, man, I just want to be somebody that I can be proud of, that is unrecognizable to who I am today in all areas of my life, man. Fitness, in my finances, in my marriage. I want to take care of the people in my life at a whole nother level. I want to be more present. And I want to do all of these things, man, with an intention that is focused on giving the people that matter to me, be it in my family, man, in my marriage, or the communities that I serve, giving them the best of me on purpose. Like not because it gives me something back or because I'm looking to get something in return, but because that's the type of reputation I want my name to carry. I want my character, man, to carry itself. And I want other people to be able to see that as I'm intentionally doing the work to instill it in myself. So intentional, man, and unrecognizable to who I am today and who I have been, even though I'm not looking down on, who I am now and who I have been, but I always know I can get better.
Absolutely, man. Just like when you're going to touch that 500 on them squats.
Hey, it's loading, man. It's loading.
Yeah, it's on the way, man. It's not about if, it's just a matter of when. Um, Man, how can folks follow you, connect with you, catch the podcast, One Dope Couple, follow you and your wife, and some of the amazing insights that you share on social, brother?
Yeah, man, you can catch me on Instagram. My name is Trone So Driven on there. You can catch us on our podcast also at One Dope Couple Podcast. Actually, One Dope Couple on all platforms, and Trone So Driven on both TikTok, One Dope Couple on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Man, we easy to find.
Yeah.
Easy to find, man.
What's Prime say? We ain't too hard to find. I like it.
Nah, we ain't too hard to find, man.
I love it. Well, I'll have those links in the show notes so people can open it up right now and hop right into some of those links. But last question is usually the heaviest, man. And if it's something you covered already, you could share that. But what is something that you've seen or something that's happened to you that shapes the way you view the world as a man?
Something that shapes the way that I view the world as a man. Realizing, man, that we're human, brother. Realizing that we are human. And what that has told me is that I have to give myself grace. I also have to give other people grace, and understanding that this human condition, man, it changes us. But that also means that even though that it can change us in a negative light, if we choose to, it can also change us for the better. And understanding that where a person is today doesn't mean that they necessarily have to be there tomorrow, regardless if that's good or bad. And understanding, man, that good and bad is actually only perspective. Because sometimes the same things, man, that seem negative in the moment also end up being some of the most transformative things that we go through. And just realize, man, that is all a part of the human experience. And the best way for us to be able to maximize that is to be intentional about the transformations that we want to experience and pursuing the things, man, that we desire for the right reasons, and understanding, man, that life is going to throw all of its, curveballs and different things like that at us, man. But we have to have the wherewithal, man, to take on all of those things, man, with love, with grace, man, and just being willing to show up as our best selves every day and giving our best effort.
Yeah, no, 100%. All about that growth. The Voice for Intentional Husbands, Fathers, and Marriages, one half of the One Dope Couple podcast. John Trone, man, thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Glad to be here, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been an honor and a pleasure and a great conversation. Thank you again for your service. And I'm going to recap some of the gems you left along the way really quick, because I know some folks are probably driving or they're in the gym while listening. And if you got 500 on the bar, good luck. um, I'm a hood dude, brother. That's something you said at the beginning, but just the vulnerability and the honesty, but also the understanding for anybody listening. Who we used to be doesn't play into who we have to be moving forward. We can grow and we could choose, or as John said, we decide what we want. And he said, I decided I didn't want to keep going down that path. I needed to change, but I didn't know how. So many of us feel adrift. So many of us are probably looking for that direction. And it might just be in the values that we've been repelling and pushing away. It might just be the values that we told ourselves that we didn't need, and we see resentment in others for having, and leaning into those. Don't be so loose with your standards. Set your standards, and also set your expectations in life. Set a vision and head in that direction. Finding yourself a partner, a woman who will keep you accountable to that vision that you sell. Finding someone who will walk that path with you and give you that boost you need and that accountability you need. It might sound like she's checking you. She's not. She's keeping you accountable to the vision you set. And it's just uncomfortable when you're in that catalyst of growth that you're surely going to be in. And make sure you grow together. Sharing with your partner. If they see a bird, where? Have interest in what they have to say and what they're doing. And marriage keeps you accountable and growing. And the greatest things in life don't come easy. And build yourself up. Become unrecognizable by living with intent. And if you need more inspiration, be sure to follow my man Trone. Guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the episode. As we always say, hit that like button, that subscribe button, hit share. Share this with a friend if you know they're going to get value from it as well. That's the best compliment you can give us. And leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. It's the only way we can improve and get better for you guys at home. And like we always say at the end of the episode, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without first the pain. Let's grow.
Let's impact some men today. I think we're going to do a great job.